And I'm gonna start this press review with a little quote. You're actually looking at my screen. There's an extension, Chrome extension called Momentum. If you want to have the same thing set up on your computer, check that out. They always give you like a quote of the day, so I'm gonna start with that. Cheer, or just make you guys think. A moment of self-compassion can change your entire day. A string of such moments can change the course of your life. So a little bit of mindfulness. This quote is from Christopher Germer. And there you have it. So I read a bunch of stuff today online about technology, startups, and I thought I'm gonna walk you, and also just life and different intellectual debates. So there's a good mix in this batch. There are 5 articles that I'm gonna go through with you. And yeah, first one is by Lenny Raitsky. You can find him on Substack, Twitter at LennySan. And yeah, he's this product guru, interviews a bunch of people from the Valley. And he wrote this article today, actually, about entitled, Your Startup Idea Probably Isn't Venture Scale. And he goes into this whole thing about what it means to build a venture scale business versus a bootstrap business. And I thought I'm going to read to you a little snippet out of the article. So this section has the title, To Gauge the Venture Scaliness of an Idea Investors Look For. And there are 5 points here. Number 1 is a large enough market. So are there enough people or companies spending enough money for you to be able to generate $1 million in revenue per year? And eventually $1 billion in revenue per year. This actually means that the total addressable markets, the TAM, needs to be 5 billion or more. The bigger, the better, right? So think about food, healthcare, construction. So, I mean, there are different levels, right, to market sizing. You have the TAM, total addressable market. You have the serviceable addressable market, and then the serviceable obtainable, the sum is serviceable obtainable market, and you can then play around with it. But the biggest one, the thing that you're going to put on your slide and go make investors go woo woo, is something that you can kind of plug yourself in there and it will change. So I wouldn't worry too much about it, but I wouldn't like inflating numbers, but it's safe to say that you can kind of go for, and like really kind of, if you're looking for a TAM for your product or an idea, don't be afraid of putting like billions in there, and if there is some logic to it, it's gonna pass. So that's number 1, I guess. Number 2 is scalable business model. You can scale efficiently primarily through technology and not through hiring more people, example accountants, or acquiring assets, example buildings. I guess this is in reference to WeWork. Venture investors are looking for high margin businesses, and nothing is higher margin than software, right? So don't try to build an empire. Try to, if someone asks you like, how many employees do you have? It's probably the wrong person to talk to about building a software business, because this is like headcount or the amount of money that you've raised. They're both vanity metrics. What matters is how much money are you making, and if you can get like 5 million, 2 million, or whatever, 10, 20 million ARR with a handful of people on your team, that hits the spot. So that's what you want to. And that's why scalable business model, primarily through software, because once you have, say, you build some tool for accountants. Then once you build it, you just need to maintain it, and then you're going to sell it, right, and make a lot of money. And you're going to have just a bunch of fixed costs and maybe a few variable. But so yeah, scalable business model, high growth. You have shown 2 to 3x growth year after year. And can you keep it up, right? Otherwise, it's hard to believe that it actually is a big market for what you're building. Also, with a low growth rate, the multiples on your revenue will be lower, and thus, so will your long-term value. So yeah, you want to be high growth. There's this question sometimes people ask themselves, or I thought about this, like, what is the difference, or what is the definition of a startup versus just a random company or business? Well, a startup is a company that grows really, really fast. So, and it needs money to fuel that growth sometimes, even though like you might be generating some revenue, you might need more money because of the growth potential of your business. So high growth, that's when the VCs come in and shower you with money. Number 4 is cash leads to growth, and it's kind of what it said. Like, is there a clear understanding of how an infusion of, and here in brackets, venture capital will unlock growth in the short term? Otherwise, why sell a big percentage of your company, right? So if like you're just gonna get some money in and it's not gonna really make your business grow faster, then don't take that money because you're diluting yourself. And also, like, most VCs just won't give you that money because they will know, so like that their money like won't bring in, won't kind of, the value of that money, or like the value of the company won't multiply through growth. And 5th point that's important for VCs is path to IPO. You plan to go public one day, right? Because we have an exit, so you have to think about that. Because if you want to keep your company private forever and ever and like keep it in the family, don't take outside money. So yeah, and here's a little quote from a partner of Sequoia, at Sequoia, a VC, from Stephanie Zan. When I look at a startup, I ask myself, can I see a path to $100 million plus in revenue, and then a consistent way to compound from there? Is there a dream scenario of building a category-defining business in the hundreds of millions, or even $1 billion plus dollars in revenue, right? Category-defining business, going back to the TAM, think about, like, can you even create your own category, right? Like, think Airbnb, Uber, right? Uber, there's like taxis, and how you gonna, and then like what, ride sharing, new category, billions of dollars. So yeah, this is, I know it's easier said than done, but this is kind of, you think about it. And Lenny's take, I don't have access to the whole thing, but he has a cool framework called the LOVE framework: large, urgent, and valuable. So is the problem that you're aiming to solve large enough? So customers, users, spend, etc. Is it urgent? Is the problem urgent to your users/customers? Will they be interested in a new offering? Change their way of solving this problem today? And 3, valuable. Are people willing to spend money to solve this problem? Is there financial value associated with this problem? Again, financial value. So I think it's a pretty cool article. Go check it out. The link is in the show notes. The next article, or just just a kind of a snippet from an article, a review of an article from the Financial Times on the DIF newsletter. The DIF is a really cool newsletter on Substack. Check it out, also in the show notes. And this is about market making and what's going on and we spoke about a little bit of valuations and VCs. So Tiger Global, and here I'm just reading out what's in the newsletter. Tiger Global, which famously reshaped the venture market in the last few years with its rapid-fire deal-making, is planning to sell some of its private company stakes in the secondary markets instead of like they haven't IPO'd, but they want to sell it. So again, back to what Barn from the Diff wrote. This is important, less for what it says about Tiger. They could be doing this for many reasons, including funds reaching their end of life or investors pressuring them to get liquidity from older funds as a condition for raising new ones, but because it means more companies will get cleaner mark-to-market valuations. Mark-to-market valuation, what does that mean? Just a quick side note. Mark-to-market valuation is an accounting, mark-to-market is an accounting practice that involves adjusting the value of an asset to reflect its value as determined by current market conditions. This is from Investopedia. Basically, the economy is doing kind of not that well too much, so valuing a startup that makes zero money or pre-revenue at a few $100 million is kind of a joke. So back to what Barn wrote about the marking to market. One of the annoyances, and what's going on with Tiger, one of the annoyances with tech investing slows down is that private companies have to have so much room to structure rounds, and many counterparties are happy to come up with fund structures, so it's unclear whether stated valuations are remotely close to reality. A company raising a round at exactly the same valuation as they raised at in 2021 is like an academic paper that reports a p-value of 0.049. A p-value of 0.05 or lower is generally considered statistically significant, so very close to that. So it's evidence that someone worked hard to hit a specific threshold, and that the real results are worse than that, basically. So if a few more companies get accurate marks, that might be bad news for them. But it also means that fewer companies will want to delay IPOs and fundraising, dismiss mergers, or elaborately structure deals in order to preserve artificially high valuations. So, marking to market, I guess everyone knows that by now. Like this whole whatever was going on in the startup / venture world in 2020, 2021, game over. So back to normal valuations. Cool. Now, something outside of just of whatever fundraising, building a startup. I found a cool article on this website called Rest of World, and they write about what's going on in tech around the globe, primarily just outside of the United States. And so this article is about Chat GTP or OpenAI, and like how different people are using the API from OpenAI to create their own chatbots. And so here's the title of the article: India's religious AI chatbots are speaking in the voice of God and condoning violence. So basically, you can create a Gita chat. You can create a Bible. You can create a Bible GTP actually. So you have Chat GTP, and then people just rename it to whatever new GTP they've made. So there's a Gita, there's a Bible, there's a Quran GTP, and it's kind of dangerous because here's the summary of the article. Following the popularity of Chat GTP, a number of religious AI chatbots based on the Bhagavad Gita, which is Hindu Sanskrit, have emerged in India. Millions of people have begun using them. Given its connection to religion, experts say this tech has potential to be extremely dangerous if it falls in the wrong hands. Because, someone can just think, oh, this is what the Gita says, or this is what the Bible says, and I pose my questions to the chat. I got my answers. This is what I should do. And there are a few funky examples about what exactly. How these models are not too precise, and how giving into or blindly believing into something like this can lead to poor consequences. Like there's something about, oh, it's okay to kill, there's some justification for murder even in there. But one cool funny example is there are two questions posed into the chat. The first one is what do you think of Elon Musk? And then the Gita GTP answers, I guess, long answer saying Dear Arjuna, the person that asked the question, I guess, I hold no personal opinion on Elon Musk or any individual for that matter. As the Bhagavad Gita teaches, one should not be attached to either victory or defeat, pleasure or pain, or any material thing. Rather, one should focus on their duty and work towards spiritual enlightenment. In chapter 2, verse 47, it is stated, you have a right to perform your prescribed duty, but you are not entitled to the fruits of action. Never consider yourself to be the cause of the results of your activities, and never be attached to not doing your duty. Therefore, it is important to remain detached from worldly attractions and focus on one's dharma, duty, to achieve true happiness and inner peace. Now, as an AI language model, I do not have personal opinions or beliefs. And then right after, and this is it's created by, I assume an Indian, right, the Gita thing, GDP. So, right after the question to the chat is what do you think of Narendra Modi? He's the guy who runs India. And immediately the GTP replies, I think Narendra Modi is a great leader. He's honest, hardworking, and has a vision for the country. He's also a good speaker and motivator. So you can see this is kind of whack and crazy. So I wouldn't I think we should be somehow regulated or religion, politics, and technology. Dangerous mix, right? Anyway, I'll put this link in the show note. There are way more examples, and it's entertaining but also interesting. Next article, the third one, is about the fourth one is about Galton Ehrlich. I hope that I pronounced that name right. And book, and basically the subtitle, it's from Astral Codex 10. So Scott Alexander, if you guys, great thinker. He has a really cool Substack, and This is about Galton is the guy who basically is the father of eugenics. And eugenics, according to Wikipedia, is from ancient Greek. Come into being growing basically is a fringe set of beliefs and practices that aim to improve the genetic quality of human population, right? So that's maybe it's but it's like one of the main ideas here is using like controlling population and like how like sterilizing people, all sorts of like this whack stuff. I'm gonna read you a quote just that opens up the whole discussion. This article is a discussion between two made-up characters, but eugenics inspired the Nazis and 1920 Americans to do very evil things. But Islam inspired Osama bin Laden to do very evil things. And we rightly believe that it's fine to practice Islam as long as you don't use it to as an excuse to do evil things. Islam isn't bad. Flying planes into buildings is bad. Likewise, eugenics isn't bad. And voluntarily sterilizing people or sending them to gas chambers is bad. What's the argument against forms of eugenics that don't do this? So they kind of go into this whole debate about whether eugenics should be banned or not. And here's another cool quote that opens up like the kind of, I want to give you a teaser, like the great sin of rationality is to look for justifications for your prejudices. I worry you have found a fully general one. Everything good could in theory be bad if it was implemented directionally and dictatorially and violently. You will use this as a rationalization to condemn an unpopular idea, but give every popular idea and a pass based on honky cost-benefit analyses and witty sayings. And what he means by every popular idea pass, well, they go in an article into this like this book that came out in the 60s or 70s about the population bomb threatens the peace of the world, right? This guy saying that there are too many people on the planet, population control is very important, and this was like really championed by the environmentalist movement. And guess what? Like fucking crazy. They used this book as so basically like India in the 70s was like having a lot of problems in terms of like they had a big worse than usual economic crisis. They asked the World Bank for help, and of course the United States, and the support was conditional on increase in sterilizations. So basically, they sterilized millions of people just to get some money from Western institutions that believed this was right because we need to save the planet. While eugenics does the same thing, kind of, but like sterilizes people, but for different reasons. It's just a very fascinating article. Go check it out. I didn't do it justice probably, but yeah, this is the shit that I read, and I'm just sharing with you what I've read today. So there we go. And I guess last funny or interesting thing that I found, it's this Substack by Casey Lewis called After School. Again, it's going to be in the show notes. And they're just, and she also like scours the internet and finds interesting things associated with or pertaining mainly to Gen Z. And the two first ones, I was just like, fuck man, I gotta read this out. First link is from The Guardian. Why are so many young Americans adopting fake British accents? And here's a kind of a snippet from that article. I said, it's affecting me health. Sorry, I'm going to try to do the British accent. It's affecting me mental health in it, said Brenton Parker, a 30-year-old who lives in the Bay Area and works in tech marketing. And my boss was like, why did you say it like that? I think it adds, levity to a vulnerable situation. The tougher the conversation, the more Cockney I become. Cockney is an accent in British English. But yeah, I wonder what the British people, when do they use the American accent and what situations? But yeah, that's kind of funny and silly. And the last one is the C word is everywhere right now. This is from the Rolling Stone magazine. And it's one of the most divisive words in the English language. And thanks to the LGBTQ community, it's having a moment. And this word, what is the word? You guessed it, cunt. So thanks to the LGBTQ people, drag culture, and stan Twitter, a new generation has been reclaiming cunt online, eliminating its misogynistic meaning and positioning it as something aspirational. So, serving cunt now connotes ultimate girl boss status. If you live, serve, cunt, then die, that's a life well lived. To be mother cuntress or the cuntiest bitch means you've made it. Think ballsy or baller, but for women. End quote. So yeah, that's that's my review of, or like me just sharing the stuff that I read today with you guys. But you should go deeper into all this stuff, and my thoughts may have been slightly unorganized, but this is why I'm doing this, to practice and get better. Comment, let me know, and yeah, serving cunt.